Okay, so basically I want to know how you went about designing and inventing the things, new and unique things like the Peachy Printer.
Yeah.
First of all, what kind of other projects have you attempted like the Peachy Printer, and what kind of interests led to you making it?
Well, I started the project because I wanted a 3D printer and I couldn't afford one. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I know that I'm about to receive $500,000, but I'm like pretty near broke right now, and I've been that way for most of my life. I'm not a wealthy person at all. So yeah, I wanted a B9 printer, and then I don't think the Formlabs one was even out, but they were $3,500, and I just wanted one. So I started thinking about it then. Yeah, about a year and a half ago, I started thinking about how I could do it for less, and I liked the B9's use of a projector. I had a projector, so I was gonna do that myself. Yeah, as I thought of different methods that lowered the price, the project became more and more exciting, all the way down to $100, where it's like really exciting here, So, yeah.
Did you have other projects on the go, like other than 3D printers?
Yeah, I always have. Well, actually, for probably 9 months, it's been only this 3D printer, but I usually have like 7 projects, and I never know which one I'm that serious about, or if I'm going to finish them, or...
Did you get ideas from those projects that kind of led to...
I got programming skills, because I was doing this camera rig for 2 years, prior. And I'm not a great programmer. I'm just sort of a self-taught. Haven't ever really taken it seriously, but always just love the power of being able to talk to a computer, right? So, yeah, programming skills for sure. And ideas, I mean, they come from all over the place. I'd love to tell you about how I thought of the different things in the printer. How you can think outside your box. That's like a really exciting topic to me. Yeah.
Get it from other kind of projects that people have worked
or
is it from industries? Or?
There's methods of thinking and certain questions that are good to ask yourself, and so I'll just go through a bunch of them. So one thing I do that helps me a lot is I'm just really curious all the time. Even if I'm just waiting 10 minutes to pick somebody up in a building, I'll be checking out the wiring or just like
anything you can find.
If I pick up a screw, I'll look at it and just look for artifacts to see how it was manufactured, see if I can figure that out. Or just out in nature, if you're watching a bug and seeing how it acts, just really being soaking up the world like a sponge, And if you go around like that, then when you go to invent something, you have this whole world in your head that you've experienced, and it just leaps into your invention, Yeah.
When you started out, did you have anyone to give you feedback before you built and tested parts of the printer?
Not a lot. No.
Did it all in your head and had something?
I design in my head a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for 12 hours of designing in my head, then 5 minutes of work, and then back into my head. Absolutely, because in your head is so much faster. I can build an entire printer in my head in like a few seconds, and then think about why it does and doesn't work, and then do it all over again. And then every once in a while, I'll kind of go to the real world and test my mental models out and find out where they're wrong. So I do a lot of work in my head, for sure. Yeah.
So you wouldn't, or would you be testing individual parts of the printer out before you built a prototype, or did you have a prototype pretty early on?
My very first one, when I thought, hey, this is a cheap printer, I had basically like speakers pushing mirrors. Other people have done it, pushing mirrors and drawing light, and then I coded the thing myself to use Blender and the headphone jack to draw a square on my wall. That's when I thought, whoa, I've got something that I just built here in my own house. Didn't actually buy anything. Like I literally just ripped apart a CD, that was my mirrors, and a pair of headphones, and I used string to have the mirrors have a pivot, and then I had a little stick from the speaker pushing on the mirror. It was a piece of graphite pencil from the mechanical pencil. Yeah, that was my first revision of the printer. Yeah. So
were there parts of the printer that you put a lot of effort into and they just didn't work at all? Did you backtrack lots?
yeah, geez, well, I'll have to grab, because in town here I've got a box of garbage printers.
Oh, yeah.
Or attempts or whatever, so yeah, a lot of them.
And
Like I would literally just, even right at this table, I'd be sitting here, I'd be making a printer, and then you just, or making even just one of the mirrors, just get it to work, and then I'd realize, well, that thing shakes around a lot. I'm gonna have to do something about that in the garbage, and then do it again, or go back to thinking.
Were there parts that you were surprised at how well they worked, like eureka moments?
Yeah.
Like,
The whole use the audio signal.
Yeah.
I didn't really know the numbers of it. I mean, I looked later, and to find out you're working with like a 4 gigapixel mapping that you're doing, like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I had no clue that was going to work that good, and it just did. Yeah.
When you're designing the printer,
There's a couple other parts that work just that well. Do you want me to cover them too?
Sure, if they're useful.
When you hang a really light object on a very tight, small string, it stays perfectly straight. Because it's like this, the thread that the mirror's on, it's like 5 pounds are holding it across this tiny little gap. Mm-hmm. And then the mirror is so light that it's very perfect how it moves. Just because of the scale of that tension against the small scale of that weight, right? And then another one, the dripping system, I mean, it's so flat because gravity likes making liquids perfectly flat, right? And the drips are so small that it just happens to work very nicely. You get very fine movement upwards. So all of those things are sort of separate ideas that were in different models of printers that I had, that eventually all made it into one that became a really great idea as a whole.
Okay, when you're designing the printer, do you usually have in mind a novice user or somebody who's done a lot of 3D printing?
No, completely novice user. Doesn't know what a 3D printer is, first experience. And also, a lot of printer designs got scrapped because they couldn't be built as a kit, or they weren't scalably manufacturable. The entire time I was designing the printer, it always had these constraints of being a kit, being a do-it-yourself type of a kit, that's really hackable and changeable, and so if I make a part in the kit, I make it as flexible as possible. I don't round corners where that would prevent you from mounting something. Just any little thing like that, I wouldn't do that. Yeah.
Do you expect the overall printer design to be something that can develop into a professional printer that would compete with printers right now that are thousands of dollars? Or would it take a lot of changes to get it to that kind of level?
No, from what I've seen, it's going to compete really well. It's hard for people to believe, but it really has nothing to do with the cost. It's, I don't know, it's tough to...
It's the amount of effort you put into it, not the money you throw at it.
Yeah, it seems like that's it.
Yeah.
In this case, I don't know if that applies to every situation, but certainly in this case, I think that a really inexpensive printer can be really accurate.
Good.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.